Well, staying then with the youth unemployment crisis, the National Assembly yesterday debated the issue and the ANC's failure to address the problem. MPs describing the youth unemployment as a ticking time bomb that could implode at any moment. Well, we're joined now in studio by youth and social activist Boitumelo Thage. Boitumelo, good evening to you. Thanks for your time.
Good evening, Kathy.
Were you looking forward, anticipating the President's speech at all today? To hear what it is that he would say about not just the state of young people, but perhaps some of the solutions that government is looking at?
Thank you so much for the platform. I don't think I was looking forward to hearing the response of the President or the address of the President or any other politician/minister for that matter. And I'm saying this as a young activist who is politically inclined. And I think it's time that young people become honest about the realities that we're facing as young people within the country. Look, we are post-1994, and I think, almost as old as the freedom, just a few years younger, of our country. And we're still hearing the same promises that were made to our grandparents and our parents. And I am now saying that I do not want to be hearing the same promises being made to my children one day. I want the promises being made to actually be a lived reality. And I think we've had enough speeches, we've had enough lectures, we've had enough addresses. We now need to see action taking place, and we need implementation as young people.
That implementation, of course, is stalled and is hindered by many different things. So even if you listen to what the President said today about jobs and red tape, he said in the State of the Nation address, promises of jobs, he's been saying it over the last 3 years, but the reality is that there's been very little progress in trying to meet those targets. What does that mean realistically for a young person like yourself? So the inability of government to implement, to meet its own commitments.
I think it's the failure of not just the government at a national level, but we need to take it back to basic education, because that is the root of most of our problems. The basic education fails young people, and it prepares us for failure. I was actually in a youth dialogue today where we came to an agreement that we're being failed by the very education system that is preparing us and building us up for unemployment, because we're being prepared to go into a workforce that does not have space for, all of us who are going to graduate as lawyers and as psychologists and educators. We need an education system that will produce skills development, not just theory.
What's the solution then from young people? What is the solution from a young activist like yourself?
I think we need to drive ourselves closer towards focusing all our energies towards skills development, especially in the TVET sector, because that is where, we would then be actually having skilled, for example, mechanical engineers. I think the TVET sector has been neglected for a very long time, and we need to ensure that the TVET sector is skilled and is well-resourced to ensure that when a student or a scholar graduates from the TVET sector, they are well-skilled enough to enter into the workforce. But at the same time, students who go to the university system for the 4 or 5 years that they do their degree need to ensure that when they graduate, they are not just prepared for the workplace, but they're actually prepared to start businesses and start being employers rather than just being employees.
Do you think that there is an appreciation for how hard it is for young people today to get a step into the door, even when it comes to accessing just basic opportunities like a learnership and internship somewhere?
I think we overlook the requirement that comes with learnerships and internships, because even there the bar is set high, but it's not set high in terms of the standard that you get in an institution of higher learning. It's set high in the terms of experience. I mean, you cannot expect me to study for 5 years and after a 5-year qualification expect me to have 3 years experience. I've been studying. I don't have that experience, I think our internships need to actually start perhaps whilst we're studying. Whilst you're in 3rd year, 4th year, going towards graduating, start preparing me for that workplace, and don't expect a young person who just graduated undergrad to have experience. They don't have it. It's immaterial whether or not they are theoretically qualified.
Boitumelo, what is your hope? What is your dream for your generation?
I think I always say that I'm from a very tired generation of young people. That, like
Tired.
I said,
The youth are generally the ones with the energy. Why tired?
Tired in a sense that we're skilled, we are talented, we are educated, but we do not have access to opportunities. We don't have access to all these things, businesses. We don't have access to funding for our businesses. And even if there is funding, it's so difficult for a young person who lives in Soshanguve, for example, to have that access to that business. You need to be connected. You need to know somebody who knows somebody. And I think that my dream for my generation is for us to actually just take things by force. And I don't mean violently take things. I mean that we need to ensure that we force ourselves into drafting policies. We need to force ourselves into drafting constitutions. If needs be, going towards redrafting the constitution of the country and saying that it has failed us, it has failed our parents, it has failed our grandparents, but we won't let it fail our children. We are tired of living in a country that consistently every election goes out and promises the people heaven on earth, and then for the next 4 years we sit and we wait and it never comes. I think young people need to actually enter into political spaces and ensure that they influence what happens within the country. Voting is one of the things, ensuring that they are part of legislature, and ensuring that we don't stay away from the conversations that directly affect us, because we are very far as young people, but we're tired at the same time. It's, you know.
Do you think that makes the work that you as a young activist is doing slightly more difficult?
Yes, it becomes difficult because as much as we are actively involved within the space, both politically and within the social justice movement, we need to then consistently recruit our peers to say that this is not just about today, it's about the next 20 years. There's a generation that will come up after us and say, but you failed. You did not do this. You did not speak up when unemployment was skyrocketing. You sat. So we need to ensure that we consistently speak to each and every direct injustice that takes place. I mean, gender-based violence skyrockets, unemployment skyrockets. There's so many social justice that affect young people, that affect children. But if we sit down as 20-year-olds and we say, well, I mean, my parents did nothing, my grandparents did nothing, then we're directly saying that the next generation must come and fight our battles, you know. And I think when we joined SASCO in UNISA, we were taught that each generation must fight for their own issues. So we can't sit down as young people and say, well, I mean, they are failing, you know. So,
Boitumelo Thage, let me thank you for your time. Wish you all the best in the work that you are doing. She's a youth and social justice activist there, just weighing in on the state of the country, particularly as we mark Youth Day.